engaged. And there were some people that were older that were engaged and liked Zoran. But when he won, I was like, yes. I try to be nice. I try not to, but I was for it. Cuomo got 20%, so 20 ticks higher with the Black vote. So he has to work on connecting with the Black community. That he has to do. And so there's a lot of talk. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about the election from last night on all the media networks. They're all talking about it. Lisa says her son loves him. I think a lot of young people love him. Well, he's only 33 years old, 32 or 33. He's young. He's young. And if he wins, which I think he's going to win, he will be one of New York City's youngest mayors. Young, 33. I love it. I love it. I am all in for the progressives. I am all in for those that are wearing their politics on their sleeves and saying, yes, I am a socialist. I'm not a socialist, but I have a lot of socialist views. I believe in healthcare for everyone. I believe in taking care of those that can't take care of themselves. So I have a lot of socialist tendencies. But I'm proud of someone that can stand up. He said, yes, you want to call me a socialist? I am a socialist. And took that name and ran with it. I'm a socialist. You want to call me a socialist because I care about people? Then you call me a socialist. Because only in America will the word socialist be such a bad name. And that you can say is because of racism. The root of that whole mindset of hate the socialists, or you're being European. But they're saying that that's like a coded language. You're being European. What their meaning is, you're caring about those Black folks and those people of color. That's where it came from back in the, about 100 years ago. Socialists. The fear that Americans have in their heads about socialism. When socialism is what America has, a socialist system built into it. What do you think Medicaid is? What do you think Medicare is? What do you think unemployment is? Those are all social programs to help people. And God forbid all those rednecks out there that would miss those checks coming in, those Social Security checks that they depend on, that hospital getting that funding from the government. I even go further. Those farmers that receive those redneck farmers that receive grants, or when we did have the USDIA, or DA, I should say, giving grain and wheat and everything to Africa and to all those places. Guess who received those monies? Right? Social nets are important. Social saving nets are important. You must have them. That's what the purpose of government is. We need to get back to the purpose of government. That's why Project 2025 is against social nets and things that help people. And now those farmers are crying like they did in the last Trump administration. We don't have any money coming in because you suspended the food going to Africa, our surplus. How do you think we got high fructose corn syrup? Where did high fructose corn syrup come from? right? Know the history, y'all. Know the history. The high fructose corn syrup was the surplus that white farmers had, and they needed to do something with that surplus. So they created the most deadly thing to the population, high fructose corn syrup, and introduced it into the food chain. And then who benefited from that? The healthcare. Because guess what? Now everyone's obese and sick. I'm on a rage. I'm on a roll to this morning. I'm on a roll. Yes. Follow the money, y'all. Follow the money. Anyways, just say. Anyway, how you guys doing today? Again, what's the temperature where you are? What's the temperature? And if you're in the building, make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit that like button. It's like the doorbell to let everyone else in the cyber world know that we're here and that this community is on. So anyway, I do hear footsteps again coming down the pathway. I'm coming down my walkway in front of my beautiful mansion here on Touch Base Daily. Oh, it is our Watercooler Wednesday. So we talk and we just talk. We are just doorbell. Let me go get that doorbell. Oh, look at you in red. I like it. I like the red. Red top. It looks nice.
What you trying to say? Like everything else don't look nice? No, I was kidding.
No, you look good always. But lady in red. Can I sing my song? Lady in red.
You can sing. I don't know that one. Like it's not ringing a bell over here.
Oh, maybe because I'm out of tune.
Oh, Lord have mercy. That could be.
That could be it. Anyway, good morning. Welcome, Miss Gwendolyn Houston Jack.
Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack. Yes. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing good. I am recovering from the heat. Yesterday was so hot. It was just so freaking hot in New York City. Now, I tell you, yesterday when I walked out in the streets, I did think I said I could curse just like Gwendolyn today. It was so hot. It was so.
Why'd you go outside?
It was like someone took, when you walked out into the street, I went to grab something, a little snack.
Oh, that's right. You sure did. I'm sorry.
Yes, I remember we were talking about I was going to get my baklava. So, yes. And I walked out the door. I walked out my building, and it was just like someone's poured slime on, like hot slime. It was so hot and humid, but it wasn't as humid as the day before, but it was just still hot. Yeah.
The heat is the heat. I mean, it's only 82 here. I think it feels like 86.
Lisa says, or curse like dump. Curse like the dump.
You know what? Like it gets really hot. Yeah. It does get really hot. You know, we were chatting last night about it. That, you know, there are ozone watches because we don't have the protection we used to have because, you know, so we haven't had an ozone watch here yet. But when it happens, when I was running, I would get out early. I get my run in. I would get in before 8 o'clock. And the few times that I missed that timeline, you could feel it. Like it becomes really hard to breathe. It's real. So be safe out there. If you have to go outside, go outside. If you don't, stay inside.
I stayed in all day yesterday and did not come out until the sun was down.
Yes.
It had to be down. And it was still last night. It was 9 o'clock at night or 10. It was 9:30. That's when I went out. And it was still 92, 93 degrees.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
We've had that. Like it's common here. I mean, I recall when I first moved here, and it's a different kind of, there's not a lot of humidity sometimes here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. compared to Houston. But I remember one summer I went walking with a friend to Sonic to get some milkshakes. And they have that huge big thing that says like what the temperature is. And it was 90 plus. I was like, there's no sun out and it's still hot. It's hot. But we had a late night run club in Irving. And we wouldn't run until 9 o'clock. So we would get there at 8. We would run our 3 miles. There were runners, joggers, and what have you. But we would run. And even at night, it was still hot, right? So we got to exercise it, but we would have bananas and water. And every now and then there was somebody who would not hydrate properly. And we'd have to, help them out. But even in the summertime at night, it is still like 90 plus 100 sometimes. You're like, what in the what?
It's crazy. Like Lisa said, this is what it felt like last night. She said exactly. She said, I went to lunch with a friend yesterday and walked out of the restaurant. It was like walking out the restaurant was like getting smacked in the face with the hand of hell.
Look.
now that's called dramatic writing. She wrote with drama there. That was drama.
Can feel it, though. If you have glasses on and you walk out, it fogs up.
Oh, it fogs up. It's just
take them off.
Now you're in the fog. So not only is it hot, but now you're in the fog and you can't see because you're wearing your glasses. I can't see.
Yeah.
It was absolutely.
Hey man, climate change is real.
But you know what? My weather is around the corner.
Well, for where you are.
Today is supposed to be like little bubbly storms here and there. But tomorrow's going no higher than the 80s. And then Friday, baby, it's going to be in the 70s.
Oh, well, we don't have it here.
Well, no, it's going to be in the 60s.
We've got some ways to go. Real quick, though, did you see a video? I think it's in Missouri where the street buckled as this car was driving from all the heat.
No.
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was Missouri. Don't quote me on it. I have to go and find it. But this car was driving and the street buckle popped up. It was some straight deuce of hazard type thing. That car went up and came down. I mean, because of all the heat, it's crazy. It's insane.
That's what it says. Here we go. Let's take it to the videotape. I love computers. I love the world we live in today. I love Google. I just love Google. Can I just say I love Google?
I don't know about all that, but I mean, it's a search engine.
I love it for getting these. Look, here it is. Look, there she is.
Let's take a look at extreme heat across the country. A car went airborne in Missouri after that heat caused the road to buckle. That was caught on camera. This is in Cape Girardeau, about 100 miles south of St. Louis. You watch that car kind of fly over the buckled road there, hitting the damaged roadway and just getting popped up. Authorities say 2 roads had already given way and more buckling is possible as the heat wave continues. Thankfully, nobody hurt there.
Wow.
Man. Here you are driving, all of a sudden and the ground comes up. You're like, what the? Yeah. Yes. It's crazy.
That's some crazy crap. Yes.
Climate change is not real, though. I don't know if anybody told you it's not real.
Oh, they don't know. Oh, yeah. Climate change is not real. No one believes in climate change. Oh, there's another bill. There's another doorbell. Someone else at the door. It's our wonderful Wednesday. So you know who it is. Lady Alieze is in the building. There she is. What's going on, Alieze?
Hello.
She changed her orientation, y'all.
Look. I mean, should I turn it sideways? I'm actually on my cell phone because my granddaughter is using my laptop today.
I love it. It's very clear. Your picture is very clear on your smartphone. I like it. Since you're there, we're going to do this. And now we're all the same. You see that? You see how we accommodate?
I see.
We accommodate. And I'm going to move myself over to the side so that way I can turn on this wonderful little chat box thing here. So that way people can see the chat in other platforms. Like the Instagrammers are on here somewhere. They're somewhere in here. I think they are. Well, maybe. Yeah, now they are.
Maybe
now they are. I just turned them on, even though they're just passing through. That's all. Just give them something to look at as they pass through. They're window watching. Anyway, so Elise, how is it doing? How are you doing in DC? The heat is just as bad down there.
Oh yeah, it's just as bad. Today is supposed to be the last like hot day, and then it's supposed to rain. I was like,
it's evening.
I can do without the rain every day. It's not like it's just gonna rain one day. It's supposed to rain every day for about 5-6 days.
Today is going to be a big day. You know, I get to photograph today at an event, so I'll be photographing. He's not the only one, but there's going to be a lot of dignitaries, important people, legislative body of folks, and all these big wigs are going to be gathered in one event. And I am their photographer for this event this evening, as well as an ambassador to the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. So I'll be doing ambassador duties as I'm photographing. So it's going to be a great day. And we got the deputy mayor of New York. She'll be there. We have a couple of other folks that are going to just be popping. But our major guests we are celebrating Don Lemon. And we're celebrating the deputy mayor of New York City.
Nice.
So it's going to be a good night. I'm getting all my equipment ready. I am going to be there an hour ahead of time. I'm usually there about a half hour. I'm usually there about an hour, but today I'll be there an hour and a half before time. And the reason why is because when it's this hot in New York City, it's unpredictable. And I want to make sure I'm already in the city. And if I have to walk with my backpack, I got time to get there if the power goes out, because there were some areas in New York City that lost power. And so I want to make sure I'm in there and I'm there. I'm not like trying to get there at the last minute or the hour. So it's good. Right. It's good to be there early. Gwendolyn always says to me, if you're there on time, you're late.
Early is on time. Early late is not acceptable.
Yeah, there you go. So
that's the same thing I told my kids. I was like, that's how you're gonna live.
That's how you live. So so I always hear Gwendolyn's voice in my head. That's why she's the work wife. She's been the work wife for more than 20 years. Can you? Wow.
I know.
A long time.
Woo, Lord have mercy.
I'm gonna file for alimony or something. I need to.
I ain't letting you go nowhere.
Say, Gwendolyn, you want to share the sale?
Yeah.
You're going nowhere. You're stuck. You're stuck.
After that long, I think so.
For better or for worse.
Okay, so really quick, Ron, like somebody was like, that was 20 years ago. And I was like, like 1980s. I don't know why I'm stuck at like 2000. It's
2005.
Right.
So I'm like, wait, what? I have to catch myself. Like when people say 20 years ago, I immediately think 1980s. And it's like, that ain't.
Yeah.
Look, that's 40.
That's 40 years ago.
Look, my daughter was born in 1985, and she'll be 40 in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Yes, 40. I was like, she and my husband are 40 years apart. She'll be 40, and he'll turn 80 on his birthday in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Mimi says good morning to everybody. Says good morning, Ron, Alieze, Gwendolyn, and RLP crew. Stay hydrated, family. Yes, I have my lemon water here. Lemon water. Because not enough just to have water. You must have water with lemonade is the reason why lemonade is so good for you. Like I have lemonade here, is because you have a little bit of sugar and you have the lemon and you have the water. And they say plain water, if you drink lots of plain water, you get rid of your electrolytes. So you need to have water that has like the lemon and the sugar.
I don't know if the sugar is part of that, right? I'm just like, what?
Yes, it is. If you happen to be in an emergency, look it up. And someone's like their electrolytes are down, or they need IV, but you can't get to a hospital to get IV. They show you how to make it. And how do you make IV?
All right, hold up. I could have sworn that young lady on Dr. Vibe show talked about just having water. Now you can add your lemon, your cucumbers,
water's good, but you need more.
She was not down with sugar, and I know good and darn
well. A
well.
little bit of sugar. That's why Gatorade is so good for dehydration.
So the way they tell it, I think that's the U.S. version. So the way like when you talk about the lemon and water, that's like the Japanese, like you should drink warm lemon water in the morning, not with a sweetener.
Well, that's something. Yeah, that's also to keep your body cleansed.
Right,
nice.
But that's not with a sweetener. You can add a little cinnamon in it and stuff like. Cause cinnamon, I use cinnamon on stuff instead of sugar.
Oh, so sorry, my bad.
Oatmeal.
I
changed the sugar out.
Sodium. Not sugar, sodium.
Yes, it's sodium, and that's what I said. It's sodium.
That's the sodium. That's right. I remember now. It is the sodium.
Yeah,
it is sodium. Not
that's
sugar.
What replaces
to create
and that's
an IV packet.
And that's exactly. Read the label on Gatorade. It's full of sodium. Gatorade is full of sodium.
Thank you, Chris.
And so you have to be careful when you drink Gatorade because it has a lot of sodium in it.
I can't. It could be.
It has a lot of sodium.
It's too much sugar. They say it's too much sugar in Gatorade.
And sodium. So it has both. It has sugar and it has sodium in it. That's where the electrolytes come from, is the sodium. And lemon and lime and water, those are alkaline drinks.
Yes. Alkaline is best for you.
Well, I like that lemonade try.
But the lemonade,
I mean, that's like something
I don't get that sugar in.
Would try. But if I had
a little bit, just a little bit. But it's agave. It's agave.
Oh, it's agave.
Yes. Oh. No sugar. No. I very rarely use sugar. And I would say I use sugar once or twice a year.
And I'll tell people that if you are unless you're doing something natural like honey, agave, use sugar. And I'll tell you because the artificial sweeteners, we already know those are known.
Those are the worst. Oh,
they're terrible for you. They're terrible for your kids.
Cancer causing, yada, yada, yada.
It's horrible for you. So, and I learned that in science class. My science teacher is like, just go on and use that sugar. Or honey.
Same thing with butter.
Do not use that.
They said don't use margarine, use butter. Just stick to the old.
Use the butter. Yeah.
Butter baby.
Butter baby. Ooh,
and butter is definitely natural. And I've used a churn before, and I've seen it form. So,
yeah.
Lisa says citrus water, no sugar.
Use a churn in middle school.
Oh, y'all went in on me. No, Ron, nice try though. Nice try.
Let her know. Ron said we all coming for it.
Y'all came for me, y'all. Y'all came for me.
I was like, lemonade? Come on, man. Come on.
Y'all all came for me. What are you talking about, boy? Good morning, Ron and family. Congratulations, Ron, says Warren M. So anyway, let's go to the videotape. There is something I would love to share with you. And one is there's a couple of things I want to bring up today, but this was really good. This was from Joy Reid, and we're gonna be on Joy Reid page a bit today. So let's go to the videotape because this is really, I love the speech, and a lot of people say it can't be done, but I believe it can be done. So here we go, and let's get here we go.
Tonight, we made history. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it. I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of New York City. An hour ago, I spoke with Andrew Cuomo about the need to bring this city together as he called me to concede the race.
And that was quick.
Thank you, my friends. Tonight, we made history.
Okay, and so what do you guys think this means to New York, to the rest of the country, that Zoran won? Now, there's a whole lot of talk, and we're going to take a clip of Joy Reid last night on CNN. Got that clip ready for you guys as well. But it is also telling to see what is that they're running. The establishment is running scared on all levels, Republican and Democrats. Now, AOC, Sanders, there was a lot of people behind Mem Donnie. A lot of people. And the establishment in New York City is terrified. And this was not just a race for New York City. It was a race for the United States. Because this may be the moment that progressives, because of the conditions on the ground with the dumpster, this is now pulling people to say, we are done with it all. We want new faces. We want new people. We want nothing of the past. We're tired of the old Democrats. We're tired of the old Republicans. We are done with them. We want new faces. We want people that care about people. People first, profits last. What do you think?
Well, I think it's reflective of elections that have been taking place in other parts of the country this year.
Yes.
Where you've had some younger Democrats who have been winning in other states.
Like, was it Oklahoma? Was it Oklahoma, right? Was it Oklahoma or Nebraska?
Oklahoma, and it was someone in Carolina that won as well. He was young.
Yes.
And I think it's reflective of that. I really do think it's reflective of people who are talking more about the change of the guard. And plus, you look at the old guard, they're old.
They're old.
I'm older, but I'm not going to go out there and run for anything right now. I support someone. But then their ideas and what they continue to say is still the same thing. Even as an older person, my thoughts are more progressive in the sense of, I think of outside of the box and outside of limiting things, right? You still have the people who are in that category of who don't support women as much. Those types of people. And his campaign definitely was national, because Ava DuVernay, who rarely ever does a live, went live with him yesterday. Which I was very surprised to see that. But it just shows you how much people are watching because of him speaking. They're speaking more to humanity.
Yes.
Than just traditional politics. I think that's what people have been looking for, and he's speaking to humanity. And he knows, and I mean, he went out, when you listen to some of the clips, he's gone out to the Jewish community. He's gone to different communities to have conversations and not kind of been afraid to answer a question. Well, Cuomo is definitely like, my God, I was like, why anyway? But that was just me.
I was like, just sit down. Why can't some of these people are so ego driven? But it's just like, sit down.
But you have older people in those communities, older Black people, older Hispanics. I saw a younger Hispanic woman talking about it on social media today. How older Hispanics, I think it was in the Bronx, voted for Cuomo. Why are you voting for him? But it really keeps you thinking how that's how the monstrosity we have in the White House got there, because people are willing to overlook the atrocities that these people have committed against people and are overlooking it. Why are you overlooking those things? Why is that so acceptable for you to take a person, whether it's an allegation or not, that has been accused of sexually harassing women? Why is that? That seems like
Why is
a
it
pattern.
okay?
It seems like a pattern. I mean, you have a man who has 34 convictions in the White House, have been found liable of how, I know all these social media sites have stuff sexually assaulting a woman, but people are like, oh yeah, no. But if you said about someone else, they're quick to say, oh my, that's horrible. But it's not horrible. But they'll vote for that. So when you think about that, why are older people, and I'm definitely not one of those people, why are they willing to support people who have not just one accusation, but several accusations against them, who had to step down from being governor, who wants to step into being a mayor of a city in the same state he had to step down from, and you support that. That's insanity to me. That's crazy. So I think it's about change. I think it's about people saying, we're not going to give in to these people. We're not going to give in to the people who are, and they're looking more closely at these people being supported by these super PACs, because they know that now we can see this country has been bought from the Supreme Court. Every level of our government has been bought and paid for by super PACs.
Yes.
That's what
you said. I mean, that was my thought. I was like, and then I'm going to ask Gwendolyn, and then Gwendolyn can chime in, is that I said, that was the thing that was in my mind. Wait, I said, well, how is it possible that people are going to vote for Cuomo when he's the same. I don't call him the same as the dumpster guy, but they're from the same neighborhood. They're from the same borough. They're from the same generation. They have the same mindset. These are people that are filled with ego and they do things on the sidelines to, and don't get me wrong, I thank Cuomo for doing an amazing job on our transportation system in New York. We have new bridges. He replaced all of our bridges. The airports are new. We got the best airport now, one of the best airports in the world. LaGuardia Airport, which was the worst airport in the world. We have now Kennedy is being worked on, finishing that up. Bravo. Take your, after, when you do your great act, when it's time to leave the stage, take your bow and leave.
And when you left in disgrace, just don't come back. Don't open the curtain again.
Go right up.
In all fairness,
write books, right?
And in all fairness, you have to remember, no governor, no executive level gets anything done without the legislative level.
Exactly.
So he didn't do any of that alone. And sometimes they do it because they get so much pressure from the legislative part and the citizens that they represent. They have no choice. That's what you see with a lot of things. Like they have no choice. And so I think there's some great things that happen in New York. He went out in disgrace.
In disgrace.
And he should stay out there. And they said he's gonna come back and possibly run as an independent or something for the election. So
also they say too is the best way to rehabilitate your disgraceful leave of something is to take that time out. Like if he would just leave the stage, like politics, and then do some charity stuff, like make a difference in lots of people's lives, help the needy, help this, really just do things. You let your name be used for something that can help people. I'm just saying, there's just a thought. Gwendolyn, I love when your face says 1,000 words without saying a word at all.
I'm stuck on let's just not do awful things to begin with. But okay, so now that I've done these awful things,
that was awful things. But if you're going to rehabilitate yourself,
so I was accused of doing awful things. So the way that I should get back is to go out and do charity work. Is like because that's honest. I'm just like okay, yeah. At the end of the day, that's a whole nother between him and God. So I can't even get into that because you can do all of that and still be an awful person because it's not coming from a place. But
that's true too. That's
not. Here's my thought. I do believe that there is a place for people who are like, you know what, something needs to change, as we talked about, until the pain of remaining the same is unbearable. Nothing changes. Now I'm in Texas, right? So I am watching what's going on in New York, but I got my own like BS down here. So, I will admit I kind of watched what was happening there. And I know that things that happen in New York or on the East Coast can sometimes set the tone. But what's happening here in the South is a whole nother like something, especially here in Texas with the governor that we have. So I am praying. Literally sending up all the prayers that perhaps now with all of the foolishness happening in this state, that maybe my counterparts in these smaller towns in Texas will finally say enough is enough and it's time for change. But I don't know. I mean, they talked about bringing a Doge-like government entity here in Texas, but I thought you guys have been in power like what, the last 20 something years. So who are we looking at? Like I'm like I don't understand where that's coming from, because you're already like, you guys have had it. If it hasn't been done, or there's been some shady stuff, it's because you guys did it. So what? So yes, I have watched some of it. I do believe the younger people are going to recognize their power and start stepping up. I feel it, right? Here in Texas, though, in Texas, and keep in mind, we're one of those playgrounds for things. My mind is, I'm watching what the governor is doing, and I'm watching what's happening in other Democratic cities, like in Houston. They're trying to take over the education here in Fort Worth. So I'm looking at how they're going after these places where there are primarily Democratic persons.
Yes.
Right. And so I'll tell you, I mean, I think it's great the guy won. I see what people are doing, but in my mind, I'm watching what's going on over here in my backyard, because they doing some ignorant things as always.
Right.
So.
It is Texas.
And I think with other places, I think the key in Texas, and I know people always look at the big offices. I think the key is, how do you start to change the legislative part of Texas? That's what the key is. It's like, how, and they gerrymandered so much.
Yes.
That sometimes it's so hard to get it, because Alabama, it was so gerrymandered that they only had one black person represented, and you got a 30% of your population is black, right?
Yes.
But they gerrymandered it so much.
Split
The
the
way
black
they did it, they
population
split them up so much that they didn't have that kind of power to put anyone in office, where it had to go to the Supreme Court to get stuff done. And so I think that's the key to looking at places such as Texas, because these states, you have at least 37 of the states that are all Republican controlled, right? And so how do the way to start changing that are the changes that you're starting to see in some of those places like Florida and Carolina, where some of those Democrats are starting to win, not just in spaces that were Democratic, but in spaces that were traditionally red. That's when you start seeing the changes. Or Omaha, Nebraska, where they finally have a black mayor. Yeah. That's when you start seeing changes, right? That's where, and I think that's why, I continue to post whenever they're having we have all of these local elections this year.
Yes.
There are tons of them, and people need to get out there and vote. So in the places of whatever I know they have some elections coming up later in Texas, wherever those things are, the thing is motivating, particularly Black people in those places to get out and vote, and not let people think it's all hopeless. It's not hopeless unless you don't work.
There you go.
That that's where people have to start building from the ground up. I think this is a very ground up movement that has to take place, because for any of these states that are like Texas and Indiana, all those places, you have to start changing the legislative pieces. Because the one thing that helped in Maryland, and when they were talking about, I know they were trying to get Larry Hogan to run for office in Maryland on the federal level, right? The thing that kept him from being the total Republican that he wanted to be, was that the legislative part was Democratic. And they had enough to overrule any veto he might make on something. So that's what kept him in check. So Maryland really was a state that had true checks and balances. And so that's why he couldn't do what he wanted to do. And that's why we kept saying, I know Jazzy and I kept saying, please don't let Larry Hogan do anything. Just keep him out of it, because he's going to be the Republican they want him to be. This man who had brain cancer, they convinced him to try to get him to run for something because they wanted him to be in there in that Republican seat. And that's all it was about. It's about mailing in that control. And so you have to see how they manipulate behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. But that's what kept him in check. When these states, and even you can see it on the larger scale, which is our federal level now, they have control of everything. Mm-hmm. And what can stop them? The only thing that stops them is when they need 60 votes in the Senate. That's the one thing that keeps them from getting some of the crazy stuff done. Just
and
like
this is why we have to vote.
Sale. The public land sale, they found out they had to take that out because it takes 60. They had to have it in something separate, and it takes 60 votes. So that's the only thing that's happened.
Well, we've seen some changes. I mean, I was quite surprised in the last election that we had recently that they literally removed anybody who had red attached to them. And I was like, oh, okay. So, it's like you said, it starts on a local level. It starts small. I'm just, at a certain point, you ask yourself, why do you keep voting against your best interest? I don't understand.
I don't understand.
I just cannot wrap my arms around it. But at the exact same time, as I mentioned before, like I'm watching what's happening, like in cities like Houston and Fort Worth, San Antonio, like they're making these moves, and they appear to be small moves, but they have really big impacts to where the superintendent in Houston, he got a raise, but he's looking at, we may have to close some schools now. You know how big Houston ISD is?
Right.
It is huge. And when you start closing schools, there are certain families that get impacted, as well as they just passed a legislation that allows teachers to kick out and have kids suspended when they are disruptive. That also has kids who are homeless, which were currently protected.
Right.
Currently protected. So instead of trying to figure out how to make it better for kids who are, as you say, disruptive, in air quotes, because they don't even know how to really define that.
They don't.
Impacting homeless kids, you figure, well, I'll just toss them out. That's not the solution. That ain't it. And everybody's not going to a charter school, and everyone's not getting private school. So what happens to all these kids when you tear down the public education system? That's the question.
And that's a big issue that most people don't understand. And that's why, it's always important we help people understand that private schools and charter schools can put kids out.
Yes.
The quote unquote regular public school, which will have insufficient funds and not be where they need to be, are going to be required to take those students in, because it happens in DC all the time. After they get their money for the kids, they say, your child isn't a good fit. Perhaps you should go and put them in, and they go to the neighborhood school, and they have the money, and the money doesn't follow the child. Now, why Texas keep supporting the wheelchair bandit, I don't know.
Woo,
that's beyond me.
I don't have my bottle of moonshine this morning for that conversation.
Why do they or Ted Cruz?
What'd you say?
Or Ted Cruz? Like Ted Cruz is the worst.
Cruz. Absolutely.
It's the worst. It baffles me, but like this last session, the last few things they put into place, and he signed a whole bunch just the other day. It is like this clear attack across the board on families and what have you.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to understand. I don't know what happens, and you see people who leave their comments about what parents should take care of their kids and their kids are bad. Kids are not bad. Okay.
Right.
Cut that out. Yeah. Kids learn differently, and we all learn a certain way. And I get that teachers are overwhelmed. I volunteer. I get it. But that's where you need people to show up. But if a child is already homeless, we know that they are coming to school with traumas, probably have eaten a whole bunch of things. When I was at field day, I watched this little boy. It was clear that his home setting is not, in my opinion, safe and sound. Because it hadn't even started, but his hair wasn't combed, his clothes were dirty, and his shoes were barely together. Now, the school has a closet that keeps clothing for kids. So when they come to school, they can change clothes, right? But you see that, you're thinking, how are you making legislation that throws those kids away? And you claim to be pro-life. Forget the fact that he just, denied funding for summer school food programs.
Absolutely. Just sign that. I was like, how do you not feed the kids?
I'm like, I don't understand. But I didn't bring any alcohol this morning. And I know that's not the way to have a conversation, but damn it, sometimes you need to keep yourself together.
Yeah. And I was going to ask about that because in DC, we have a summer nutrition program, right? And so kids who have families who are low income families, not people who are totally in poverty. They in Title I schools, they're low income. Those kids are receiving a summer nutrition card where their parents can go to the grocery store and get some groceries. They're giving funds to parents for that in DC. And here you have this man, I told you that the wheelchair bandit down there saying we're not going to feed children for the summer. Where's that homeless child gonna go?
But again, the cruelty is the point. And yet these people say they are Christians. This is the insanity of it all. Is that you got these people the other day in front of the White House speaking in tongues and doing their prayer meeting situation. Trump is this and Trump is that, and God protect our president, and yada 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 yada. And these people are the most evil people. I always say, and this is not a condemnation on Christians who practice Christianity. I'm a Christian.
I'm not.
However, the Christian nationalist movement, these people that call them, they use Christianity as a weapon to get what they want.
Yeah. But Ron, question that my husband and I have this discussion a lot because he said as a child he would agitate his mother about the Bible and what it was saying, right? But we had this conversation a lot when we've been indoctrinated. I'm going to say that to be Christians, right?
Yes.
And it's the same it's the religion that was used here. The version of it here
to
was
enslave.
used and by European countries, the colonizers.
The colonizers use it all around the world.
Of us, right? And then we are probably, and I say this from my belief, I believe some of the most loyal people to that faith are for some interesting reason Black people.
Yeah.
And so even when I was telling my husband,
that's globally. When you go to Africa, it is intense
because they're so indoctrinated. You still have people. I know a woman who goes over there and she does missionary trips. I will never support her. I mean, I talked to her. We're in a prayer group. I will never support a missionary. The reason I want is because that's about indoctrination. That's about the same stuff you keep telling them how horrible they are. They want to go over there and tell the things that your people do, and it's okay for you to speak in tongues, but when they speak in what they speak, it's something wrong with it. But you don't even know what it is. But you have decided that it's not quote unquote Christian.
Right.
And what does that mean? What does it mean to be spiritual? What does it mean to be, if you want to say, take it in aside, what does it mean to be Christ-like? What does that love look like?
Yeah.
That love looks like being humane, that taking care of everyone. That's what that is. And I think at some point, because I'm kind of estranged from my church. My husband won't listen to it all the time, but I said they're not saying anything, and I've taken the church to task, my own church to task, and spoken to a minister there about their views and how they're not truly followers of Christ per se. But I think we have to wonder, and it's just something that I always think about is, and I think about it from my own self, is why do I think about classifying myself? And I'm not, and I said religion, identifying with a religion is what causes wars. This is what caused enslavement. So is it just, for me, it's more spirituality than anything. Because the religion, and when we claim to be Christians, Muslims, somehow when those clashes come, there's some oppression that comes. Somebody's oppressed. And we have always in this country. That's why, one day when I decided to go in there, because it was helped to be put together by Hobby Lobby. I'm going to go in the Book of the Bible Museum because I want to see the slave Bible and I knew about it before they started talking about it, when they took certain passages out of the Bible that they didn't want to have people understand that enslaving other people wasn't right. So they took those things out, and their whole books missing, and whole chapters of books missing because it spoke out against the atrocities they were committing. Yes. So as we think about it, how do we, and as churches, I thought about, say, why aren't more Black people AMEs? Because the AME church was formed because of the racism within the Episcopal Church and by Black people. Still following those Christian doctrines, however. But it was formed because of the racism within the church and the fact that particular religion, it continues, has always is used by the Klan. Yeah. Every white racist nationalist group in America uses it as saying that's who they are. Yes. And if that's who they are, how can we be that? Right. We cannot be the same thing they are. And we can't. So that's something that we have to think about. You know, as they say, pray on it, but think about it. Pray on it, think about it.
I have this conversation all the time with my Christian friends, and
we've had it all the time.
And because especially American Christianity is so far, even if you believed in the Bible, a lot of people, some don't, you still have to say you are so far removed. If you just went with just the red letters, like I always say, the red letter Christians, with just about what Jesus says to do, then you'd be in a better position in your arguments as a Christian to love, to care, to support, to care for the least of them. That's what I mean by Christian. I don't mean by the other crap that's out there.
Yeah,
sorry to call it crap, but all that mindset. You know what I mean? The mindset.
My
using the Bible verses for a weapon for what you want to get accomplished and done. Like we heard Ted Cruz the other day saying what's his name?
Tucker.
Tucker Carlson, who knows more about the Bible.
I believe in the Bible. I'm a Christian, and the Christian belief told me that I'm supposed to, look out for Israel.
Which was funny because Tucker Carlson knew more about the Bible than he knew.
And Tucker was like, which Israel? Which Tucker Israel? Carlson the Bible Israel or the Israel today? And Ted Cruz is just as evil as anyone can be.
But I think that's how it has to be a kind of a grassroots thing where you start helping people see people. Yes. Because I always say that one of our biggest faults is us reacting instead of being proactive. So we react to that. We go out and we get upset. That's not where we should be. We should repeat those points about these people. Yeah, he abandoned y'all in that horrible weather. You just need to keep pounding away at those reality things, not being emotional about stuff. I mean, he sat there, and since that time, and when people talk about Israel in the Bible is not
not the country Israel today.
And so that part people have to realize, and nor are the people in charge over there when they did the DNA analysis. The majority of those people ancestrally are not connected to that place.
No,
it's just a fact. And so it's just a lot of language, because I heard someone asking the guy who just won the Democratic nomination in New York. I'll mess up his name if I try. I'm not even gonna try.
For the mayor?
Yeah, for the mayor.
Zoran?
Yeah,
Zoran. You can just say Zoran.
Zoran. So asking Zoran about anti-Semitism, I am going to keep continuing to push people to be real specific about who they mean you are against, because Palestinians are Semites.
Yeah.
Look it up. I remember Ron looked it up that day I said that.
That's right. We looked it up.
So we need to stop allowing people to use the narrative of people being anti-Semite when they're actually against the Israeli government. They're not against Jewish people. They're not anti-Jewish.
Nope.
And so to be anti-Semite, you have to recognize that when you say that, that means you don't like a Semite. A Semite also incorporates Palestinian people.
Yes.
So we need to be real clear and push back when people use that language. And I was hoping he would push back when they use that language and say that, let's be real specific. Who are you talking about? And why is that the one population that you want to push him about? There are other people in the city of New York who are oppressed for real. The Black community up there who's struggling, trying to survive. But we keep letting them focus on one group of people. And I know that's the sexy thing.
Well, that's I like the way you just, that's the sexy thing. Because here in New York, what they tried to do in the campaign, the Cuomo people, and they tried to paint Zoran as a anti-Semitic person. Anytime you go against Netanyahu, see, again, people don't know the whole situation. There are people in Israel, the country, that are not for what's going on in Israel.
Who are
As a matter of
protesting
fact,
every day.
a lot of the population want to put that Netanyahu in jail.
Right.
And the reason why he does all this crazy crap is because he's trying to stay out of jail.
Right. And they have protests in Israel that they don't show. Like,
yes, they don't show here in New York. They don't show it in America, but they show it in BBC.
That's what I'm saying.
BBC and all the other channels.
And people on social media show it sometimes, but they have big protests against
in Israel.
In Israel. But I think that so my thing is, I think Zoran handled himself extremely well.
Yes.
When people were trying to bait him. Mm-hmm. I think he understood that they were trying to bait him. I don't know his background, but whatever it is.
Oh, and speaking of background, I need to correct from yesterday. I mean, he is part Indian, but he is African. He's from Uganda. Just so everybody knows, he's from Uganda, Africa. Born in Uganda, Africa.
So I was thinking more of the academic part, not necessarily.
Oh, just what I'm just saying, because I wanted to correct. Yesterday, I just used India. I was like, oh, he's from India somewhere. South Asia, but I wanted to make sure people knew he was from Africa. He is truly an African running in the mayoral election.
Yeah, so I think he has whatever his background, he is very capable of manning a stage and holding his ground and not being shaken off of where he is and not being drawn into somebody else's narrative. I think that's to his credit, him being able to command that and control his narrative and not let them get him off track.
Yes. Well, anyway,
Gwendolyn's just breathing. What you got to say, Gwendolyn?
Go ahead.
No, I am good. I am good. I'm right here. I'm if I had a fan, I'd be like, amen.
Well, the whole thing is, I'm excited about this mayoral race. We saw also this morning Mayor Adams, God bless him. He was on Fox this morning. And I said, see, he even shows his true colors. Like, why would you, do you know the optics of that, how that looks? You are going to be and so I think they brought up on the Don Lemon show, they were saying, or maybe it was another program, and they were saying that what New York will be having in their mayoral election, because it's going to pretty much be Mayor Adams against Zoran. It's going to be the two of them. And they said what will happen is technically, as you look at, Adam will be the Republican, even though he's the conservative, he's the independent, but he's really a Republican. And he used to be a Republican. People forget that.
He still is.
And he still is a Republican, because now you see him catering to the Republican Party. He ran to Fox this morning. And you're going to have Zoran being the true Democrat. So it's going to be an R against the D, even though the R is cloaked.
Cloaked, right.
Cloaked. He's really a Republican.
Right.
And again, the optics this morning, when he went to Fox, if you heard the crap that he was saying, like, oh, crime, I mean, it's ridiculous.
What do you
And
say?
you see all the Republicans on CNN, like there was a clip I was gonna give to you, but we're gonna get out of here on time.
He does know he's the mayor, right?
He does know he's the mayor, right? He's the mayor. But and then all these people saying, if Zoran becomes the mayor, crime is coming back to the city, back to the years of 1970s, and blah 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 blah.
He does realize he's the mayor.
You know what?
Now,
I have
right?
to do it. I have to do it. I can't sit.
You're gonna play
it.
I have to play it. I have to share this.
Go ahead, play it.
Watch this. This is from CNN last night. And Joy Reid, I tell you, Joy Reid is just like Gwendolyn in this way.
Yeah, she.
Everything is
her
on
too.
their face. And I
sat
sat there and said, "Oh my goodness, here it is. You just watch it. Here it goes." And I'm gonna pop this up screen and
as did the New York Post. So anybody who knows how bad New York can get all came out against Mamdani because a 33-year-old with zero experience running anything except a little office with 5 employees should not be running the city of New York.
Donald Trump is president of the United States. His experience was being on The Apprentice. He's head of the Pentagon. His experience was being a weekend anchor on Fox. Are you kidding me? He's got Dr. Oz is in his administration. Dr. Oz,
you're leaving out something. He's a 33-year-old socialist who's never run a popsicle stand.
He's literally in city government right now. Sorry, after Donald Trump. I'm sorry, after Donald Trump and his Pinky and the Brain administration, no one ever gets to talk about qualifications.
Socialism will not save
the bottom line is what I want to ask you a question. What is your evidence that Mamdani would return New York City to the 1970s hellhole Times Square? What is your evidence?
It's very simple. So he wants to raise taxes on people who make the most money. What eventually is going to happen is you're going to lose that tax base. Once you lose that tax base, our bonds will get degraded. Now the city budget will not be substantial enough to subsidize not only the cops, but the fire department, the sanitation department. Once you start losing Wall Street and people who pay $11,000, $12,000 a month to live on the Upper East Side, you're done.
Let me ask you.
And you go back to the 70s when Gerald Ford said to New York, drop dead.
Okay, but hold on, Arthur.
Crisis.
But Arthur, just as somebody who is just listening to you, you raise the taxes on wealthy people in this city, maybe a couple percent, right?
They're already 50%.
Yeah, they're already
53%.
and that's exactly my point. They're already paying some of the high. I know, Arthur, but Arthur, they are already paying right at this moment some of the highest taxes in the country. And you think that 1 or 2% is going to cause a mass exodus out of New York?
Haven't you said it's it already has started?
I just want to be clear that that's what you're saying, because I think that seems pretty extreme.
Because he's also not going to the Daily News as did the New York Post.
I mean, it went on, and Joy Reid, I just love her. I mean, she is everything. I'm so glad she has, obviously, she has her own platform. She also interviewed Zoran on Friday, as he literally took the train to the top of Manhattan, to Inwood, and took the whole day and walked from Inwood to Battery Park. He walked the whole length, straight through down Broadway, all the way through Manhattan, shaking hands, talking to people, connecting with people. And while he was doing it, he was on the Joy Reid show. And he was off just a little segment. But again, you see the talking points. Yeah. That talking point that dude said is the talking point that's everywhere in the Republican world this morning. You know why?
Right.
Because they're scared.
And that's what it is. It's all fear-mongering, right?
Fear-mongering.
And it's all about, and it all gets down to money. There's always money, but there's a part, and there's a clip that they have with Joy on there, I believe, where she just really took them through it with that history part. And my husband was listening. He said, "Who was that talking?" I said, "That's Joy Reid." I said, "See, that's what happens, and that's why they're so bothered about us in particular." I said, because when you come out and they don't, the man was speechless when she finished walking through that history. He didn't know. He didn't have anything to say. He just kind of looked at her and stared with his mouth open because she knew her history. But there's one thing I wanted to say. Yeah. One of the things that people have to pay attention to, particularly Democrats, stop voting for these folks that keep changing over and saying they were Republicans, now they're Democrats. That man tried that stuff in LA and almost won as mayor of LA because he was a Republican, switched over and said, "I'm gonna be a Democrat so I can get rid of so I can beat her out," and then had black quote unquote celebrities say stuff. But we got to stop doing that. And Adams, I don't live in New York, but when he was elected, I was like, what on earth? I asked my son, I said, what on earth happened up there? Never should have been elected the first time because he was who he was. He's an ex-police officer. He still believes in what those police officers do and have done and will continue to do if allowed to, right? It's not about defunding anything. It's about holding people accountable, right? He's not going to ever do that. And then this is my last part about him. He has been bought and sold. When he went up there and they got rid of those charges against him, they got him in their pocket. And so he's never going to be of any good use for New York City ever again. And that's what people need to remember. He has been bought, sold, and he was out. He was on these charges. They dropped the charges just so they could keep him in as a puppet. And that's what we have to start remembering. He was a Republican. He still is a Republican. He never left that. He was just able to manipulate people, the gullible people who is like, "Oh, I'm changing." Don't change over the Democrat for me because I'm not voting for you. No, because I always tell people, I say, yeah, leopard spots only change temporarily. They are who they are. They are who they are. So that I just thought it was very fascinating. Oh, I think this is hold on a second. I may be able to do this. Hold on a second. With Instagram, it's hard to bring back. Once it's in tape. Anyway, I want to hear, we can just go into the Joy Reid. I think this is what you're talking about, Alieze. Hold on a second. Don't be nice. Be nice, Gwendolyn, with Instagram. We know. We know the story about Instagram. We know. Here we go.
And wait a minute. No, one moment. And so the hatred of the United States had to do with the hatred of the Shah, who brutally repressed the people of Iran for 26 years until he was overthrown within Iran because he was not their natural king. They didn't want a king any more than we wanted a king. The bottom line is the arrogance of the United States' foreign policy. We act as if people act in a vacuum, and that nothing we do has ever led to the hatred of us in other countries. And I'm not saying that hostages should be taken, but you just said because they hate our freedoms. Well, that's BS.
They hate the Western work with. I want to answer.
Let me just understand that the United States plays an important role.
So anyway, it was a good conversation, but it's too long to go into. But Joy Reid. Now I don't like the Abby show. I love Abby. I think she's a cool person, but I don't like her show because all they do is argue and fight, and they have these stupid Republicans that are just idiots. And for someone that used to be a Republican, I was like, this is ridiculous. Really.
And we pray for we pray for you when the time comes because you used to be a Republican. We praying for you.
Oh, whoa.
Alieze. Wait, Alieze.
Wait a minute.
I see you, Alieze.
Let you back in.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness gracious. But
Abby, when she has some people over there, her and it's almost like I hate to say this, it looks like the way her expression looks like, I always ask, is she on Botox?
No movement whatsoever. I was
Dr. Taki says, right, Ron, we are praying for your salvation, speaking in tongues.
But Abby's expression is like,
goodness.
She sits there and it's like, girl, say something.
Say something.
Take control of your platform. Take control of your setting, because you're supposed to be the lead person. But she often sits there, and I laugh all the time. I laugh at myself. I said, she sit there like her face is frozen with Botox.
I said, what is wrong with Abby? Abby, I'm like, Abby, stop them. When they start spewing lies, she should say, stop, stop, stop. She needs to take more control of her show. It is so frustrating to see her show because she does not orchestrate the conversation. She doesn't know how to guide it and to interject and say, stop with the foolishness. Like you just saw Joy Reid. Joy Reid was like, and they kept trying to talk over her, and she just kept plowing through with the truth. Plowing through.
You have to do.
You got to plow through.
Look, that's what you learned. I learned that testifying on Capitol Hill. I was like, oh, they say your time's up. I said, not until I finish this. I'm talking to congressmen and senators.
Plowing
as
through.
Soon as I finish, then I'm finished. You can really claim your time if you want to, but I'm gonna finish this statement. But
I'm claiming my time.
But we also know why Abby would do that, right?
Yeah.
Because she wants to sit in that seat. She wants that paycheck, and it won't change until it gets more that the truth is more important to her than that check.
Yes.
Yep.
Why she sits there frozen with Botox.
Anyway, man, it was a good conversation, y'all. I always love it. I love it when you guys are on here. You're always here. So, guys,
get Gwendolyn's face.
Gwendolyn, let me tell you, you can never be in a room with Gwendolyn and not know what she's thinking, or at least know what direction she's blowing, because it shows on her face every single thing.
If I can get my face to stay quiet sometimes, I'd be like, but no.
Look, I had to learn that.
Stay quiet.
I had to learn because I had to sit in front of parents and students. And and sometimes that child says something and you want to crack up because they're right. They're telling the truth about that teacher or somebody else. And you just have to sit there with that face until they leave. And then when they leave my office, it's over. I had to learn that.
Anthony brings up a good point. Could it be that she's not as knowledgeable as she should be? Because again, I mean, think about, I am going to use the comparison. Joy Reid and Abby. Joy Reid is so well informed. Like I'm sure they didn't plan that conversation to go about the Iran situation and the bombing and all that stuff. And she laid out the history of the Shah. I remember that history when I was a kid. I was in 6th grade when the Shah was in charge of Iran. They kicked him out of Iran and they chased him out because they didn't want a king and they wanted democracy and yada. But she was able to pull that out. I mean, Joy Reid has the ability, and even in her show, to pull out information, history from everywhere.
She's very intelligent.
This is what makes these people amazing hosts. Again, like we talk about what's her name? Murdoch. Rachel. Rachel is she's like a walking encyclopedia. The people that are the greatest anchors on the shows on TV, or mainstream media, or now in these independent media, are the ones that have access to history.
Right.
The history that they know, they're able to pull it and move it around and share their points. Gwendolyn, what's that face saying?
Okay,
you don't believe in that? You don't
believe
he has a point?
I appreciate the access to history. Do we not all have phones? Like, they not have access to the internet? I mean,
we do.
If she had studied it, maybe, as Anthony was saying, maybe she's not as proficient as she probably needs to be. And I hate to say needs to be or would like to be. It also could be that she could be the token. I don't know. That could be it too. It could be a combo of both. But we do know that people have assistants who bring their genius to help them also do what they do. Right.
This is true too.
They have
because
all the,
when you are
that one person is like, there are people who help them do some of this. So give everybody they do. As President Obama said, when he was in the room, he didn't ask people at the table. It was the folks on the wall who he spoke to because they knew what was going down.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to make, I'm just like, I'm sorry.
I mean, that too. I will add that into the ingredients in the equation. But I also am a believer that the hosts that have a proficient knowledge of history and able to pull it out in a conversation without going to Google, they make an amazing conversation. Now, we also know in the background, the producers are usually in the ears of people as well as they're speaking and giving them information. And they say, so talk about this or talk about that. So, there's people, producers in the background.
Yeah, and I think a part of
education is important.
Yeah, a part of it, having to sit in rooms and spaces, like I said, having testified on Capitol Hill and those places like that, it was also the ability to think critically.
Exactly.
And and how to pose questions.
Yes.
That's just as important as what you know. Because if I don't know, I know how to ask that. I know how to use what you just said, pose a question, and now it's on you to fill in those blanks. And so I think that's where the great part of leading groups come in and being able to hold the table down is being able to think critically and to control the space, because they don't have as much respect for her. But when you have a person like Joy in the room, Joy is like, okay, for the face and everything, you're going to sit there and you're going to respect that. And what happened to them, they did not expect Joy to come back with all that history.
Yeah.
And as Dr. Tachi said, Joy is a mentor, but they underestimate us all the time. When I was on Capitol Hill, they underestimated me until I started rattling off the statistics from Cleveland, Ohio, and the voucher program. And then they had their staff members running around trying to see if I was telling the truth. But I had facts on my side. So they never think that when you come into the battle, they're so arrogant that they really do look at us as our complexion, our sex, our gender, whatever you want to call it these days.
All of it.
They look at all of that and make assumptions about how they compare to us, not understanding that we're some of the most intelligent and analytical people in the world because we've had to be from the beginning.
Yes.
Church gonna say amen. So we just gonna say amen. Amen.
There's the hymn voice. Lisa said the hymn voice, the hymn. But you also saw I watched the show on CNN, and you could see that Joy also was also respecting Abby.
Yes.
Because this was Abby's show.
Yeah. Right.
And Joy could have given even more, but she held back, kind of like balancing. I'm gonna give the facts. I'm gonna give the information. I'm gonna keep it on point. I'm gonna challenge these people. However, I don't want to take over Abby's position as being the host of the show. So she had to do a nice balancing act throughout that conversation. I thought as always, Joy Reid was brilliant. She pulled out information, and these dudes, they needed a whipping, and she gave them a good whipping because they needed it intellectually. They thought they could go against her. They thought, oh, she's just the woman over there on the table, and she let them know she came to play ball. She came, as the old show used to call back in the years ago. They used to call it hardball.
Right.
She came to play hardball.
And then we have to also call a spade a spade.
Yes.
They didn't just see her merely as a woman.
Yes, it's also a black woman.
He's so gracious.
But they forgot that we the most.
Ron is so gracious because he's better than me.
I know.
I wouldn't have said it. It's like, come on now, Ron. You know what they was thinking. Come on now.
And that's what they saw. And they keep, I don't know why at this point, considering that we're the most educated people in the country.
Black women are the most educated people in population in the country.
And I don't know why they keep underestimated why they do it. I know why they do it, because in their head, they still think they're superior, and that's why I refuse to say supremacy with them. They still think they are, and they're just not. They're mediocre, and sometimes people have to do that. But what I would say about Abby is, when she did speak, I felt like she was trying to come in to interject on Joy's behalf. Although Joy could have just held it down all by herself.
Yeah,
like you said, you do think of like the way that he said that about Gwendolyn. It's the expressions on Joy's face.
Joy's face. Oh my gosh, Joy's face was like
really.
And she was just, I mean, she gave the side eye. I mean, the side eye was priceless. I said, y'all playing with the wrong woman. I mean, Joy, every expression.
You do. You have to do it sometimes. You gotta let people know, like, we're not even trying to do that today.
I surround myself with strong people. I feel I have some of the strongest women I know.
You know how I feel about that word.
I know how you feel. I know how you feel about it. But I mean, it really is not having people that are educated, knowledgeable, and know their facts, know their history, know the conditions of time, know where they're at, can carry a conversation, can conduct themselves, can reason. It is the greatest asset to being a person. Having those kind of people around you that will check you, that will question your belief system and check your thoughts, check your own history, and say, hey, maybe you need to read. Did you know this part about the history? Or you may know the surface part of the history, but do you know this part about it? The other, so I like having people around. That's why Alieze is here. That's why people are around.
May I also add to that? May I also add?
That's why Gwendolyn can
highly educated.
Gwendolyn,
may I
as you prepare your response,
Gwendolyn,
could I ask you
to actively listen to what is being said?
Yes.
Right. Because, debate team, you have to hear what people are saying.
Debate team.
To actually go and say, okay, well, this is what you mentioned, so on and so on. So whenever I see Joy speaking as a great reporter and everything, journalist, interviewer, we know that she's listening to what is said. Because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And what they say, it don't make sense. It's like, what? Like, really? That came out of your mouth? Are you serious right now? Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you, Ron. I agree with surrounding yourself with really great people who are solid in their presence and who they are, and understand their genius, and they stomp in their genius. They got on Timberlands. They be like, I'm gonna show up. Yes, that I believe in that.
Yeah, and I agree with Gwendolyn, because it's more like, I don't look at it as quote unquote strong, more of confident in what you know, and analytical enough to utilize what that person says. And I told you, when I was in high school, we had debates in my history class. People hated to debate me. The reason was, I listened to what you said. My response incorporated what you said. And it happened to, what's his name? You had a representative from New York by the name of Floyd Flake, I think.
Yes, Flake, yeah.
And I was testifying before the Senate, and he posed the question, because this is against vouchers. And he said, so Ms. Stallworth, you are saying that if we do vouchers, we'll get the cream of the crop of students, right? I said, no, those are your words. I said, because my children are the cream of the crop, and they will not be on vouchers. So do not put your words into my mouth. So I use his words back at him and help him understand that wasn't anything I said, but however, that's what you said, and that's what you believe. And I said, so therefore I'm saying that the cream of the crop aren't going to be the ones that go. It's going to be the ones whose parents have the money. I said, so being able to use his words, and that was always my weapon. I learned that in high school, sitting in history class with probably one of the most radical history teachers you could ever have in life. Her name was Miss Shahid. One of the most radical. We had abortion debates and everything. I made a girl cry. If she was crying, they were like trying to comfort her. But anyway, but only because I utilized her words. And that's what it is. It's about critical thinking, being able to analyze and respond and listen.
Yes.
And base your response on what that person said and fill in the gaps and let them know what they didn't know.
Well, this was great. You got the last word, Alieze. You
All
have
right.
the last word of the day. And guys, again, if you want to get, if you want to stay connected this way. Join the email list. Join our email listing, and that will also keep you informed in case we do not have internet service. You know, I mean, these internet platforms will change. They may change. They may be that we may not be able to do it. But if you want to stay in the know, get on the email list. Okay, just go to ronlewisphotos.com and you'll have that. Also, and if you're looking for an event photographer like I'm doing tonight, I'll be photographing a great event this evening. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that I'm going to get to photograph one of my favorite people in journalism. But also there's going to be a lot of dignitaries there. But I do event photography. That's what my profession is. And so if you know anyone that's looking for an event photographer, reach out, slide into my DMs. Also, thank you, Patreon members. It is because of the Patreon community that supports what we do here is how we are able to pay the bills, pay for our StreamYard, pay for Canva, pay for the electricity, pay for everything. They make it happen. So thank you to our Patreon members. Your support helps us create amazing content, and we appreciate you. And if you are not a part of our Patreon community, you can just go up to the link inside our YouTube channel, and it will take you to the link tree. And the Patreon is right there on the top. Become a member, support. Don't just come for the food and leave. Leave a tip. Leave a deposit. Say I'm a part of the community. I want to invest in you. Okay, so do that. If you get something out of this platform, take care of us and reach out using the Patreon page. And there's Gwendolyn dancing. She has her music in her head all the time, and she's ready to go. She's ready to go. She's on the move. When she starts doing all of that, she's on the move. You ever see it? You ever see her show when she ends her show? Love you, ladies. Love you. We didn't have Jazzy on. Jazzy was getting ready to come on, but the conversation it was just moving in such a way. Thank you, Jazzy, for being and trying to come on, and we thank you for also being there for us as well and sharing your input. Okay, I see all the love. I see all the encouragement. Have a wonderful day, says Lisa. Do one thing for yourself today. I always say that's a good thing. Do something to share your love with yourself. Mm-hmm. Love yourself, because until you're able to love yourself, you cannot love others.
Yes.
Anyway.
Amen to that.
Anyway, I don't want to go there. That's a whole nother subject for another day. Anyway, guys, love you and see you tomorrow. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and leave a comment on this video. I would love to hear from you. Thank you again. Until I see you next time.